What narcissists fear the most. It can't be easy trying to always keep up the appearance of perfection, find excuses for any flaws or failures along the way, and prompt external validation that is the only life raft for your self-esteem. Living like that has to create a lot of fear. After all, you might get exposed at any moment by something out of your control, and many things are out of your control. What's worse is that you might have to face yourself, look into the depths of your pain, and see the reality that your illusion is creating abuse. When you think about how the narcissist thinks, you can have compassion for their fears. But what exactly do they fear? Behind their house of cards lies a weak foundation, one in which they are dependent on external validation, constantly propping up their fragile self-esteem. What's worse, they don't really know that. They just know they are always on edge and fearful of being exposed. That makes them vulnerable to even the slightest and most gentle of criticism. Moreover, they have many fears because deep down, they know something is wrong. Here are some of the fears that experts have identified through their research. Number 1, relationship commitment. Most narcissists have extreme difficulty with establishing and maintaining lasting, meaningful relationships. When you remember how they are made, think, and feel, you can understand why this would be difficult for them. To be in an intimate relationship with someone, you have to be willing to be vulnerable and let your guard down. This is what the narcissist really fears, since that means their partner will see them for who they really are. And the truth is, they don't even know who they really are. Their entire self-image is a carefully crafted construction based on false premises. They lie about their abilities to impress people and get the admiration they need. They pursue materialistic things to appear more successful than they are, and they boast about abilities they don't really have, so they can receive accolades for things they never did. They fear that someone will get close enough to see the truth. That's why they have to keep any potential romantic partners on edge. They believe they must break them down, so their partner won't look too closely at the narcissist. They'll be too busy looking at themselves. Number 2, going deep. Because their sense of self is little more than a facade they've been creating their entire life, narcissists fear examining their own psyche. They don't want to discover their inadequacies, flaws, or that they are merely human. They have spent a great deal of time convincing themselves that they are superior and entitled to special treatment. If they delve too deeply into personal growth work, they risk learning the truth, that they are just like everyone else and vulnerable. For a narcissist, that is a life-shattering realization. That's why they must find fault with others constantly, so they won't have to look at their own failings. In their reality, narcissists avoid learning the truth about themselves. They feel the need to gaslight their loved ones, their boss, and they don't hesitate to push their own children away. Number 3, criticism. Narcissists can't stand being even gently criticized, let alone insulted. They are hypersensitive because they fear being exposed as a fraud. For that reason, they experience the pain of an insult much more than most people. Narcissists feel it as a crushing blow and something that must be avenged. They will seek revenge against someone they perceive as having been critical of them. They must crush the criticism before someone looks more deeply and discovers that they are human after all. That hypersensitivity makes them hypervigilant to any and all perceived insults or criticism. They even become paranoid and often take preemptive steps to cut their critics off at the pass, as it were. They will often take their critics down before they even say anything. That's why they will act condescending and superior even before any criticism has been mentioned. Number 4, shame. Another big fear that most narcissists have is a shame. Remember that their self-image is based wholly on their status in society and how they are thought of by other people. Most narcissists work hard to create an image of themselves so that they are held in high regard by others. Thus, if they are subjected to shame, that image is at risk. Interestingly, although they fear shame, they don't fear feeling guilty. Guilt would mean they felt badly about doing or saying something they should not have. But they can't do anything wrong because they are superior. Since narcissists lack empathy, they are incapable of putting themselves in other people's shoes. That means they can't feel guilty because they can't see that they have done something to hurt someone else. However, they can feel shame, particularly if they are singled out by their friends or community for something they said or did, and that threatens their status. This is something that can hurt the narcissist, and it is something they will take great pains to avoid. That's why they'll frequently blame others for their mistakes. And if it looks like that won't work, they'll misdirect the criticism with gaslighting. That's where they'll simply lie to convince you that what you experienced isn't what you think you experienced. Number 5, lack of admiration. Narcissists must get their narcissistic supply from people outside of themselves. They feed on admiration and adoration from other people, and without that, they believe they are nothing. Their self-worth is entirely externally validated. They don't have the inner capacity to value themselves simply as humans. They need the adoration and admiration of others to prop up their sense of self. Without it, they have no value. That's why ignoring a narcissist is one of the worst things you can do to them. It makes them feel irrelevant and unimportant. In other words, they feel totally worthless. This is why they can be extremely charming at first, and when they believe they have gone too far and might lose your admiration forever. That charm, however, is often short-lived, and it is all too frequently replaced with rage. Number 6, being seen as unimportant. Narcissists will often pursue positions of power and influence so that they can get that external validation they so desperately need. That's why it's not surprising that many tyrants are or were narcissists. They need the power to prop up their sense of self-worth, but they usually don't want to do what it takes to deserve the power and be beloved by the people over whom they have power. They just want the admiration that comes with that power. Additionally, narcissists are very competitive. They want to win. Being a leader is the ultimate victory, and it makes them feel good about themselves. It's usually very short-lived, however, and they don't want to do the work it takes to maintain that sense of greatness. It's often not long before they are criticized for their failures, and that's when their rage emerges, usually with tragic consequences. Number 7, getting caught in a lie. Narcissists lie regularly, and it plays an important role in helping them maintain the carefully crafted image they present to the world. That's why they live in fear of being found out. If someone can expose them as a liar, their entire self-image is at risk. fear the world will see them for the weak, insecure person they really are. You might think that would make them more truthful, but they just can't do it because they have to create that image. It means they must at least stretch the truth. And when they start doing that, they become paranoid that someone might find out about their lies. Number 8, feeling remorse. The problem with a narcissist is not that they are incapable of feeling remorse. It's that they actively refuse to show any remorse for anything they have done. Remorse is equal to weakness in their mind, and they believe that you could show yourself as vulnerable if you show any kind of weakness. Showing remorse would also mean they are admitting they made a mistake, and that is something that they are loath to do. Number 9, feeling gratitude. Like remorse, gratitude in the mind of a narcissist is equivalent to weakness. It's also an acknowledgement that someone did something for you that was helpful or that you could not do for yourself. It means you owe someone, and narcissists simply can't accept that. They believe themselves to be all-knowing, always in the right, and even omnipotent. Something need from someone else or to be indebted to someone else is not something they can allow. It makes them feel weak and needy, and that is a threat to their image and internally to their self-esteem. Number 10, being alone. This is a huge fear for the narcissist since it means they must sit with themselves. Their self-esteem is externally validated, and that's why they like to have people around them at all times, adoring and admiring them. Without those people, they must try to prop themselves up, and that's not something they can do because of the self-loathing and shame they feel. When alone, they feel a profound sense of loneliness, and they fear it will never let up. That's why they are terrified of being alone and lonely. Narcissists like to pretend that nothing scares them, but the reality is that they are full of fear. When you see how desperate narcissists are to keep you in their life, you realize they are not as confident and fearless as they would like you to believe. When you understand that they have spent an enormous amount of time creating an image that they need so that people will validate them, you can understand the reason for many of their fears. When you live in a house of cards, you are constantly afraid of any kind of breeze that might bring the whole thing down. That fear makes you willing to do a lot of things to maintain that image. It's a vicious cycle that the narcissist cannot escape. Be mindful, choose for yourself, and take care of your mental well-being.